Hello everyone. Today's video is another methylene blue Q&A video. Always lots of questions about methylene blue on the various videos that I post. So thanks for the questions, and I'll keep doing my best to keep up with the answers. As per usual, nothing that I'm saying should be construed as medical advice. This is for informational purposes only. If you need medical advice, please talk to your healthcare provider to get that advice. And if at some point you wouldn't mind, please taking a quick moment to like, share, subscribe, and or post a quick comment on the video. I'd really appreciate it. So thanks in advance for taking a second to do that. So the one question that's come up several times now, and I'll answer it here. So hopefully it'll appease everyone's curiosity, is where do I recommend getting methylene blue from? As I've said in other videos before, I'll say it again now, whenever I recommend methylene blue for my patients, I always recommend that they get it from a compounding pharmacy. So I don't have an online source or particular company that I recommend getting it from. I know there are many companies out there, and I'm not passing judgment on whether those companies provide good quality, bad quality methylene blue. I really don't know. Generally speaking, we're strongly encouraged in my profession to ask patients to get methylene blue from a compounding pharmacy, because then we have about as much guarantee as possible that the methylene blue is not contaminated with any heavy metal residues. Now I do understand, because patients have brought in bottles of methylene blue that they bought online from companies who swear up and down that their products are not contaminated. They have purity reports and all this stuff, and I think that's wonderful. And I think, I'm not saying that there are not good pure sources of methylene blue that are available through non-compounding pharmacy sources. I've just never looked into them. I've never fact-checked them. I do not know. But that's where I recommend that my patients get their methylene blue from. It seems to work well, and that's where I get it from. So I don't have an online source to send folks to, and I will just leave it there. So hopefully that's the answer anyways. Maybe not the answer folks are wanting, because it's not very useful if you don't have someone to prescribe it for you, but that's where I recommend my patients get their methylene blue from. Next question here is, it says, we've been trying the L. reuteri yogurt that we make ourselves to improve gut health, and have temporarily stopped taking methylene blue because it can apparently put the gut microbiome out. Can you please suggest if that's true or not? And then someone had replied in the intervening time that methylene blue is antimicrobial at higher dosages. It was used as an antimalarial and to treat urinary tract infections. Lower dose for nootropic or redox reaction benefit. 0.5 milligrams per kilogram or less will have minimal effect on the gut microbiome. I feel like that's really well said. I don't know that methylene blue would actually have a negative impact on the gut microbiome even at higher dosages, just because, to my understanding, methylene blue is really, really, really well absorbed. And so I don't know that it spends enough time in the intestinal tract to actually make its way all the way down to the large intestine, the distal parts of the small intestine. So I really don't know that even at higher dosages it would have an antimicrobial effect. So for my patients, I've never seen any gut microbiome disruption going on methylene blue, so I really don't think that it has any negative impact on our healthy microbiome. One could make the argument potentially that taking a high enough dose of methylene blue at the same time as their probiotic supplement or their homemade yogurt could potentially have an antimicrobial effect if it was a high enough concentration. So that might be the case, but that would be easily circumvented by just taking it at different times. So we'll leave that one there. And all right, and so another one here, it says, I started taking methylene blue a month ago. Recently, I noticed a level of anxiety I had never experienced before. Soon after starting the methylene blue, I took melatonin and wonder if there could be a side effect causing the strange anxiety I'm feeling. I'd really appreciate any feedback. So obviously can't give any specific advice for this person's case, but just kind of speaking about it academically, melatonin and methylene blue there's a potential interaction there. Melatonin is derived from serotonin, and melatonin can interconvert back into serotonin, and the one sort of group of drugs and agents that we have to be careful with is anything that boosts up serotonin when we're working with methylene blue, because it can interfere with the breakdown / metabolism of serotonin. And so I would be, as much as I have patients who are taking melatonin and methylene blue at the same time, we're extra cautious with those patients, watching out for any symptoms. And by and large, I have not seen it be a problem, but there are going to be exceptions. I had one patient years ago, and he had come in, unfortunately, having had an episode of serotonin syndrome because he had been taking 5-HTP, this serotonin precursor supplement, and then he went on melatonin, and that was enough for him to actually cause serotonin syndrome, which on paper, it's like, that's really, really unexpected. I've had plenty of patients who are taking both of those supplements, no problem whatsoever. So it was very surprising to hear that happened. Now, again, I didn't prescribe it, so it wasn't my fault, but it was just kind of a very instructive case of like, oh, we need to be careful. So when I have patients who are already on melatonin, I recommend they go on 5-HTP, then I'll be cautious with, extra cautious with increasing the dose, or vice versa. But it's the only case of that I've ever encountered before. So as far as methylene blue and melatonin, I'd be if I was prescribing both things to my patients, I would be cautious with increasing the dose of either one of those, but I'd be very surprised if there was an interaction in one of my patients. Now, it depends on what's the dose of the methylene blue, what's the dose of the melatonin, and at higher dosages, we might be more prone to encounter that. But there definitely is the potential for an interaction with anything that boosts up serotonin. So I only brought up a few questions here today. There's a whole bunch of other ones, and I should have brought up more, but I don't want to interrupt the video searching for more questions. So I will just share a quick little anecdote about methylene blue. I had a patient come in fairly recently, within the last few weeks, and has a history of leg weakness, like bilateral leg weakness. It seemed to be associated with a slip disc in his back. It was persisting for years and years and years. And gradually over time, he started developing some weakness in his legs, some numbness, like some reduced sensation in his legs. And we tried a whole bunch of different things. We were doing injections for his back with some platelet-rich plasma therapy with ozone, did some prolotherapy for his back, and that actually really helped the back pain, but just did not seem to move the needle at all with his legs. We had tried, in terms of the weakness and the numbness, we had tried fairly high-dose lion's mane mushroom, vibration plate therapy, mitochondrial support, glutathione. I believe molecular hydrogen was on the list. We tried nattokinase, radiopeptidase, a whole bunch of different things. Really just didn't see any significant movement. So we saw improvements with other facets of his health, but just not with that symptom. So it was really more for, like, he was noticing a bit of brain fog, memory getting down a bit. He's in his 60s, 70s kind of thing, or early 70s, I think. So we decided to try some methylene blue, and came back like a month later, and it's like, oh, my mental clarity is doing better, and you know what? My legs feel stronger. I have less numbness. I have more sensation in my legs, and I thought that was just really, really cool, because just hadn't really thought of methylene blue in his case. For whatever reason, we were trying these other things, and so really thankful in hindsight that we decided to try methylene blue, because it was very helpful. Did not need a colossally high dose, definitely in the antioxidant range, as one might expect. And so I'm just thinking about methylene blue now, kind of in terms of like, to what extent does it have maybe neuroregenerative properties potentially? Honestly, I haven't gone down that rabbit hole of whether there's any research literature looking at that. If anybody watching the video happens to know if there's research looking at its neuroregenerative properties, please consider posting in the comment section. Save me a little bit of research time. But yeah, really encouraged and excited for this patient. So there's the tidbit. So if anybody has any further questions about methylene blue or any other questions, just post in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer as soon as I can.